Hey, what's up guys? Chip here. Welcome back to another Pokemon TCG video, where today we're going to be doing something actually a little different. We're going to be talking about something that actually happened a couple of weekends ago in Japan, and that was at the Champions League Tokyo Extra tournament in the expanded format. There was a standard format tournament as well over there at the Champions League Tokyo. As you can see, 1,600 players came out for the standard tournament, and here in expanded 435, which is actually really solid considering these events happened on the same day, so players couldn't play in both events. And expanded is something that's relatively new to Japan. Like, they've had it for as long as we've had it, but they just don't play it as much. There's not as many expanded tournaments, but the past year or so, it seems, they have really started to bring a lot of expanded tournaments to some of these Champions League events, and that was no exception for the Champions League Tokyo. Shoutouts to Limitless, of course, for the awesome documentation of these Japanese events. Always love taking a look at these decks. So you look at the standard format, and you can kind of see a good glimpse of the future of kind of what is to come potentially in the future format, since they do have cards legal right now that we don't have legal. But we're here today to talk about the expanded format tournament and what ended up happening there. As you can see by the deck breakdown for top 8, there are 5 of these Amulet Handlock decks, which is a huge percentage of the top 8. As you can see, there's also a Reshiram and Zekrom tag team deck, Gardevoir and Sylveon and Aromatisse deck, and Greninja and Zoroark tag team. So these 3 things are things I think people would expect to see in the expanded format, right? But this Amulet Handlock deck seemingly came out of nowhere and took down the tournament. As you can see, it was a mirror match here in the finals, and Takuto, it's a guy, I believe is how you would say it, ended up taking down the tournament and taking the win. Excuse my poor Japanese pronunciation. But let's talk about what this deck is and why it is so powerful and what Japan did after this deck ended up winning the event. So the whole idea behind the deck is to get your opponent to a 0-card hand on the very first turn of the game, which doesn't sound like the easiest thing to do, but this deck actually pulls it off extremely consistently, and thus led to a ton of cards used in this deck getting banned in the expanded format in Japan. So who knows if that will lead to things being banned for us in North America or in the west side of the world. Once these cards become legal worldwide, we'll have to see. But really, the thing that makes the deck work is Island Challenge Amulet, a new Pokemon tool card that says the Pokemon EX or GX this card is attached to has 100 HP less. If the Pokemon EX GX this card is attached to is knocked out, your opponent takes 1 less prize card. The idea here is that we're going to get things set up with Jirachi EX with Stellar Guidance. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may search your deck for a supporter card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, and then shuffle your deck afterwards. So we bench Jirachi. We use its ability to get out some of these supporter cards we need. Lieutenant Surge's Strategy, of course. You guys know this card good and well. In everyone's favorite supporter, and Mars is really what the combo is going to be here. And we use Shaman EX to draw through our deck. Of course, Hoopa EX with the Scoundrel Ring ability. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may search your deck for 3 Pokemon EX, except for Hoopa EX. Reveal them and put them into your hand. Shuffle your deck afterwards. So this can let us go get Jirachi, Shaman, Jirachi, whatever we might need to just draw through our deck. We've also got Miss Magius here with the Mysterious Message ability. Once during your turn before you attack, you may draw cards until you have 7 cards in your hand. If you drew any cards in this way, this Pokemon is knocked out. So doing all these things, knocking out Miss Magius with Mysterious Message, that'll force our opponent to take a prize card. We can do it once again using a second Miss Magius to keep drawing cards to see a lot of our deck. This deck really does fly through itself. You see so much of your deck in one single turn. So we can, use this a couple times. We can use it even more times potentially thanks to Puzzle of Time. Well, I guess we can't really use the Mismagius as much because there's no way to put the Mismagius back into the deck. But we can use the Jirachi EX combo a couple times, which is putting Island Challenge Amulet onto Jirachi. As you can see, Jirachi does only have 90 HP. So if you attach this tool card to Jirachi EX, it just gets knocked out. So that forces your opponent to take a prize card, which of course makes us go down on prize cards, meaning Lieutenant Surge's strategy is a live card. You can play this card only if you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent. So once Island Challenge Amulet or Mismagius will allow this card to be activated. During your turn, you may play 3 supporter cards, including this card. So we can play Surge's strategy, and then we make our opponent take 5 prizes through some combination of Mismagius's, Jirachi EX with Island Challenge Amulet. Of course, if we prize some of these pieces, we could use Gladian if need be, but we really want to keep our combo to using In and Mars. And we do have Puzzle of Time if we did prize something. We have the 4 Puzzle of Time, which is not banned in Japan. I know it is banned in our expanded format, but it's not banned in Japan. We can use Puzzle of Time to bring back Jirachi EX and an Island Challenge Amulet to do it all over again. So yeah, basically the idea, make your opponent take 5 prize cards. Once they take 5 prize cards, you use Lieutenant Surge's strategy. Then you use N. Each player shuffles his or her hand into their deck and draws a card for each of his or her remaining prize cards. Because Reset Stamp is actually currently banned over in Japan's expanded format. So that is not an option for the deck. They had to use N in order to make this happen. So they, use N, put their opponent at 1 card, and then for their second supporter for their turn, they can use Mars, draw 2 cards. If you do, discard a random card from your opponent's hand. So you put them to 0 cards in hand before they even get a turn. And to make the lock even stronger, Chip Chip Ice Axe lets us look at the top 3 cards of our opponent's deck, choose one of them, our opponent shuffles the other cards back into their deck, then put the card you chose on top of their deck. So ideally, if we see a dead card on top, we're going to put that card on top of their deck. They draw a card for turn. It's not a good card. They have to pass, and it's on to us. And so we see the combo here of getting our opponent to 0 cards. Of course, we can get Mismagius out on turn 1 thanks to Duskstone. Search your deck for a Mismagius, Honchkrow, Chandelure, or Aegislash, including Pokemon GX, that evolves from one of your Pokemon in play. Put it onto that Pokemon to evolve it. Then shuffle your deck. This card, you can use this card on your first turn or on a Pokemon that was put into play that turn. So Duskstoning into Mismagius turn 1 is how we can use that ability, the Mysterious Message. And so yeah, we see the combo here. This is how we get our opponent to a 0 card hand. We control their top deck. We know that they're going to get a bad card to draw and start their turn. But how do we win the game? How do we take prizes? How do we get rid of our opponent's side of the field? Well, that is with Garchomp and Giratina GX with 270 HP. And then it's got the 3 attacks here. Linear attack, 40 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Calamitous Slash, 160. If your opponent's active Pokemon already has any damage counters on it, this attack does 80 more damage. And also GG and GX. Discard one of your opponent's Pokemon and all cards attached to it. If this Pokemon has at least 3 extra fighting energy attached to it, discard 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. That's not ever really going to be relevant. The idea is that we're going to use the Karate Belt Trainer. If you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent, the attack of this Pokemon, of the Pokemon this card is attached to, costs fighting less. So we have Double Dragon Energy, which of course provides 2 energies of any type to when it's attached to a Dragon type Pokemon. Garchomp and Giratina, of course, is a Dragon type. We attach a Double Dragon Energy to Garchomp and Giratina, as well as the one of Karate Belt. Put that on this guy, and then if our opponent only started the 1 active Pokemon at the start of the game, we just use GG End to close the game out, and that is it. It is just over in 2 turns. We go first, get rid of our opponent's hand, delete their hand completely, give them a bad card on their top deck, pass. Okay, on to our opponent. They draw their bad card, they started something. If they had another Pokemon they could have started on the bench, maybe it's a little different, but likely they just have 1 Pokemon in the active and they have to pass to us. On our next turn, we can find Floatstone to move the whatever we have in the active into the Giratina Garchomp, as long as we didn't start the Giratina Garchomp. We have the double dragon energy. We can attach another double dragon. We can attach a karate belt, of course, as well. And then use GG End to just discard that active Pokemon. Our opponent has no Pokemon to promote. And that's it. We win the game in 2 turns. This deck is extremely degenerate, as you can see, and everyone who played it played something pretty similar. Some of them had different counts of different cards, like we see this player chose to play Adventure Bag in their deck to find Karate Belt and the Floatstone, or one of Order Pad as well, and Ultra Necrozma from the new set. Ultra Burst, this Pokemon can only attack if your opponent has 2 or less prize cards remaining. Glow of Destruction, 170, discard an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. So this can be a good option on those turns if our opponent did have a second Pokemon in their opening hand, right? They used, they started a Pokemon and benched a Pokemon. We delete their hand to give them a bad top deck. Then you can use this card, since they're going to have 1 prize card, to do 170 for just 2 energy, aka 1 attachment of Double Dragon energy. So you have options there as well. So all of these lists are really close to one another, but Takuto here is the one who took it down and ended up winning the whole tournament with one of the most degenerate decks I think I have ever seen. And so what did Japan do? What was their response to this crazy lock deck, this degeneracy that these players brought to this tournament? Well, if you look over on Japan's official Pokemon page, I know this is in Japanese, but this is the Pokemon trading card game page. They actually ended up updating the ban list. So this is the cards, the list of cards that are currently banned. These are the cards that are currently banned in blue right here. So this is just these cards right here. As you can see, we've got, this is Unknown Damage, which is banned over in Japan. I believe this one is Reset Stamp, which is banned in Japan as well currently. And some other things that you may recognize, Archeops as well. We've got Forest of Giant Plants being banned as well, which is also something that's banned in our expanded format. So what did they do? They updated their expanded ban list to just kind of nuke the heck out of this deck. They were like, this deck is a problem. We need to make sure this deck is not playable moving forward. So they banned Mismagius. So Mismagius is no longer going to be an option for these players. They banned Chip Chip Ice Axe, so we can't control the top deck anymore. They also banned Amulet. The Amulet here, what is it called? Island Challenge Amulet. Yeah, they banned this one right here, so no more knocking out our 90 HP Jirachis to make our opponent take a prize card. And they also banned Lieutenant Surge's Strategy, so that people can't take advantage of being down on prizes and using multiple supporters in a single turn. So that is what Japan ended up doing, and it's going to be interesting to see once we get this set on our side of the pond, or in the western side of the world, what ends up happening. As you can see, Island Challenge Amulet is the only card in this list right here that we don't have in the expanded format right now. Of course, Puzzle of Time is banned in our expanded format, but if we don't have Puzzle of Time, we've still got so many other dig card options. This could easily just become 4 order pads or something along those lines, just ways to find more pieces of this degenerate combo. Oh, he also played Adventure Bag. I don't know what I'm saying. I think I pointed that out on the other list. But yeah, Adventure Bag to find the Floatstone and Karate Belt. But yeah, it's just going to be interesting to see. Do you guys think that Pokemon should take steps to ban some of these cards? Is Chip Chip Ice Axe too powerful of a lock potential card? Is Lieutenant Surge's Strategy a problem as well? We also don't have Reset Stamp banned in our expanded format, so we wouldn't even need to use N to pull off our combo. We could Reset Stamp our opponent to 2 and then use Double Mars in order to draw more cards, potentially. So the only thing that we have banned currently on this list, unless I'm missing something, I'm pretty sure I'm not, is Puzzle of Time, which we could just, like I said, replace for stuff like Order Pad or who knows what else in order to just keep drawing through our deck, even like Dedenne, something like that. Of course, Skyfield lets you, have a huge bench. So will Island Challenge Amulet be banned in our expanded format? Will they ban Chip Chip Ice Axe, Surge's Strategy, or Mismagius like they did in Japan? I guess only time will tell, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts. What do you think of this deck? It is certainly crazy, and It's actually seems like it's really, really consistent at pulling off its strategy. So let me know what you guys think. Should the Pokemon Company do something about this deck before it comes over to the western side of the world? Thank you guys so much for watching. That's going to do it for me. I'm going to get out of here. And until next time, guys, take care.